Have you ever noticed how, when you try to please everyone, the one who gets lost the most in the middle of it all is you? Maybe no one will tell you this clearly, but living to meet other people's expectations is a disguised way of abandoning yourself. And a time comes, maybe it is now, that something inside you screams, "What about me? When will I choose myself?" But there's one detail that no one tells you. When you finally choose yourself, the world changes, but not everyone will like it. Some people will walk away, others will judge you, but in this video, you will understand why this is not a sign of failure, it is a sign of liberation. Because choosing yourself has a price, but the cost of continuing to betray yourself is much higher. So if you're tired of smiling on the outside while crumbling on the inside, watch until the end, because this could be the turning point of your story. And it all starts when you finally say, "Now it's about me." And that's exactly where what I want to tell you begins. There is a moment in life that is silent on the outside but screams on the inside. Sometimes it happens on an ordinary day, while you are washing the dishes, looking in the mirror, or waking up tired of feeling lost. That's when something inside you finally says, "Enough is enough. I need to start choosing myself." And in that moment, without even realizing it, you change the direction of your story, not because the world outside has changed, but because you decided to change your relationship with yourself. It may seem simple, but it's not. You spend your whole life trying to please everyone, saying yes when you want to say no, molding yourself to fit into spaces that squeeze you. And when you decide to prioritize yourself, it's as if something inside you finally breathes. The feeling is of freedom, but also of fear, because now you know, either you choose yourself, or you continue living the life that is expected of you. This step does not come with applause or pats on the back. It comes with doubts, insecurities, and that inner voice asking if you're doing the right thing. But you know what? This voice will continue to exist until you show it that yes, you deserve to choose yourself. Because a life worth living begins when you stop abandoning yourself to keep others close. If at any point you have ever felt like you were living to please others, comment here. I've done it, and I don't want it anymore. This helps me understand if you've already been through this, and maybe your courage to write will inspire someone else who is still in this cycle. Can you imagine how many women cancel themselves out every day just to not displease anyone? When you choose yourself, the world around you begins to react. Not because things change from one moment to the next, but because you start to position yourself differently. You dress how you like, say what you think, set limits where before there was only silence. And that bothers you. Not everyone will like it. And that's okay. It's not about them. It's about you, finally. The most beautiful thing is to realize that it is not about selfishness. Choosing doesn't mean forgetting the other. It's remembering you. It's understanding that if you're well, you'll be able to give your best to the world, to the people you love. But if you're always exhausted, trying to be what they expect, you'll lose yourself. Maybe you grew up hearing that putting yourself first is wrong. But the truth is, if you don't do it, no one will do it for you. And there's nothing sadder than reaching the end of the day feeling like you've lived everything, except your own life. If you feel this often, pay attention to this call. He didn't come for nothing. Often we think that choosing oneself is a grandiose act, like dropping everything and moving to another country. But in reality, it starts with small decisions. Going to bed earlier, saying no firmly, looking at yourself fondly in the mirror. These daily choices shape a new version of you, more whole, stronger, truer. And when that happens, it's like something inside you aligns with something much bigger. God, the universe, life. They all conspire in favor of those who have the courage to be who they are. You realize that you are not alone, that there is a force guiding you. But it only appears when you decide to truly respect yourself. So, if this message is touching your heart right now, take advantage of this moment. Write in the comments, "I choose myself." Sometimes just by putting it out there, you start to move something inside you. And who knows, maybe this small attitude might not be the first step towards a big transformation. If this content is making sense to you, if at some point you felt like I was speaking straight to your heart, maybe it's because we really are connected. And if so, I invite you to continue walking with me. Press the subscribe button, activate the bell, because this journey is just beginning. And I want to see you at every step. And it's curious how everything starts to change inside first. When you say, "I choose myself," you can expect the whole world to transform on the outside. But in reality, the first great transformation happens inside, in your heart. The sensation may be similar to when you take a deep breath after holding the air for a long time. But along with this lightness comes butterflies in the stomach, because now you realize that you are going down a new path, your own path. You begin to notice that you no longer need to ask permission to exist. And that, despite being liberating, is also scary. After all, you've spent so much time seeking approval that standing on your own 2 feet seems risky. But it is in this fear that courage is born. The courage to be true to yourself even if you are trembling inside. It's as if you're rediscovering a part of yourself that was hidden for years. And do you know what else appears at the beginning? The guilt. That's right. The guilt for starting to say no, for not wanting to be where you've always been, for feeling selfish, for putting yourself first. But this guilt isn't real. It's a reflection of a lifetime of being trained to forget. And the more you reconnect with your essence, the more this guilt loses strength until it disappears. This is where a lot of people give up, because the beginning feels lonely. You start to move away from people who don't respect you, from places that aren't good for you, from routines that make you sick. And that empty space is scary. But here's a truth that no one talks about. Before you feel surrounded by the right people, you'll have to face silence. And in that silence, you will truly hear yourself for the first time. Have you ever felt this silence inside? That feeling of, what now, after making an important decision? Comment here. I already felt this emptiness at the beginning of the change. Or share what you are experiencing now. Sometimes, just by writing this, you can inspire another woman who is going through the exact same thing, thinking she's alone. The most curious thing is that, as the days go by, you begin to realize that that emptiness was not loneliness. There was space being opened for new things to arrive. Things that really have to do with you. Lighter relationships, moments of peace, more conscious choices. And then you understand. The initial discomfort was just part of the healing process. This beginning also reveals who is really on your side. It's when you stop canceling yourself out that relationships show the truth. There are people who will turn up their nose, say that you have changed, try to bring you back to the old version of yourself. But there are also those who will look at you with admiration and say, "That's what you needed." And it is in these eyes that you find the strength to continue. Each new choice you make for yourself becomes a brick in the construction of your freedom. And it's so beautiful to see this taking shape. When you say no without fear, when you respect yourself in the small things, when you take care of yourself as you have always taken care of others, everything around you begins to align with this new energy. You begin to walk more firmly, more lightly. You no longer need so much validation because you begin to recognize yourself. And that gives you a silent power. Not the one that screams, but the one that remains. A sparkle in the eyes that says, "I'm at peace with myself and that's enough." And perhaps the most magical thing about it all is realizing that, even without having all the answers, you are on the right path. Because you are finally living your truth. And that's worth more than any applause. Have you ever felt this way? Starting to find yourself even though you don't know the end of the journey? Write here in the comments, "I started, even though I was scared." Because sometimes that's what life is waiting for you. Just the first step, with your whole heart. And as you gain strength inside, starting to walk more lightly and confidently, a new reality begins to reveal itself on the outside. Not everyone will like your transformation. And this is perhaps one of the hardest parts to accept, because we imagine that by loving ourselves more, by respecting ourselves, the people around us should support us. But it's not always like that. His personal growth begins to bother those who have become accustomed to his more submissive, quieter, more convenient version. When you change, you break patterns. And every time a pattern is broken, it threatens those still trapped in it. It's like your light turns on and shows how much other people are in the dark. And that can be scary, and even provoke rejection. People you never imagined can walk away. Some may begin to criticize. Others become cold, distant, even hostile. And it hurts, because you are in a moment of healing, seeking to be yourself. And suddenly, you find yourself having to deal with judgments that come from those you love most. At these times, loneliness hits again, and doubt too. You may even ask yourself, am I being too radical? Am I hurting people? But this is an emotional trap. It's the old cycle trying to pull you back to the place where you were acceptable, but now you know too much to shrink back. And even though it may seem difficult, this pain is a type of purification. It shows who is really on your side and who was only on your old self's side. A lot of people will try to make you go back to who you were, and they will use heavy arguments saying that you are selfish, that you have changed too much, that you have moved away from your family, or that you are finding yourself. But pay attention. These words have nothing to do with who you are. They have to do with the discomfort your freedom causes others, and you can't pay the price of your happiness to maintain the emotional comfort of those who don't respect your process. Tell me here in the comments, have you ever been through this? Have you ever felt that, as you grew stronger, you started to lose people? Right like this. My strength pushed away those who didn't know how to truly love me. This type of sharing can touch a lot of people who are experiencing exactly this right now, thinking they are wrong because they are growing up. Sometimes, all someone needs to not give up is to know that they are not alone. And that's exactly where you need to remember why you started. You are not changing to please anyone. You are changing to heal. And healing sometimes means starting over, even in relationships. But over time, you will see, what leaves your life in this process is not loss, it is cleansing. And what remains is gold. You begin to value your own company more, your moments of silence, your limits. And then you understand that before, you only surrounded yourself with noise so as not to face the void. Today, this void has become a sacred space, and whoever wants to enter needs to respect this new environment. Your peace can no longer be a bargaining chip. It is at this point that your strength begins to inspire. Even though many move away, others come closer. People who recognize your courage, who vibrate with your change, who truly root for you. Relationships based on truth, not convenience. And then you realize you didn't lose anything. You just got rid of what wasn't good for you. And even though this journey has difficult moments, it also brings the truest thing. Self-love. You're finally choosing yourself, even if it upsets some. Because deep down, you know, whoever truly loves you will stay. It will grow together. He'll give you a standing ovation. And those who don't love you will only resist until they can no longer turn off your light. And as you remain firm in your decision to choose yourself, something powerful begins to happen. The masks begin to fall. Not only the ones you used to be accepted, but also those of the people around you. And that, as painful as it is, brings clarity. You begin to see who really loved you, and who just liked the domesticated version you presented. You realize that many people were not by your side because of who you were, but because of the role you played. And when you stop being the good girl who accepts everything, the helpful one who never says no, the friend who always gives in, some people reveal how they really feel. It's shocking. But it's also liberating, because there's nothing lonelier than being surrounded by people who love a fake version of you. This breaking of illusions can hurt like a goodbye. You feel betrayed, deceived, sometimes even silly for having believed that certain bonds were real. But don't blame yourself. You did the best you could with the level of awareness you had. And now that you can see it, you can't unsee it. The truth hurts, but it also frees. And at that moment, you start to see yourself more honestly too. How many times have you found yourself asking yourself, was I really being me, or was I just trying to please? If this question has already crossed your mind, comment here. I'm tired of pretending to be what people expect of me. It may seem simple, but this type of outburst can make other women realize that they are also living a disguised version of themselves. From that point on, you begin to understand that loving yourself requires courage, not only to see yourself, but to maintain yourself. Because the temptation to go back to the old version where everything seemed easier will appear. But now you know, the price of your peace is too high to be negotiated again, and you've already suffered too much trying to be something you're not. Relationships that resist this new phase are rare, but precious. They actually flourish. You no longer need to explain yourself so much, nor to prune yourself to be accepted, and that gives you immense relief. Because living as who you are without fear of judgment is one of the greatest freedoms you will experience. And then something beautiful happens. You start to attract people who are also on this path, people who value your authenticity, who vibrate with your evolution, who don't diminish you when you shine, relationships that make you grow and don't pull you back. It's as if the universe began to organize everything so that its energy found resonance in other free souls. This process also changes the way you look at yourself. You begin to see yourself with more compassion, more truth, more affection. You allow yourself to be imperfect, to make mistakes, to start over. And you understand that being real is much more beautiful than being perfect, because perfection takes us away, but truth brings us closer. And deep down, all you wanted was to be accepted for who you really are. But be careful. There will still be people trying to convince you to go back to normal. But now, you know that this normal was a prison in disguise. You won't fit in this place anymore. You've grown up and your soul is asking for space. Don't cower again. Don't turn off this light that has started to shine in you. And if there's one thing I can guarantee you, it's the more you allow yourself to be who you are, the stronger you'll feel. Because the freedom to live without a mask is a gift that no one can take away. Right here in the comments, I choose to live without masks. And if you have the courage, tell me, what part of your life do you feel like you are still hiding to be accepted? And perhaps the most challenging thing about this new journey is precisely this void that remains after the masks fall and the false companies move away. At first, this loneliness is scary. It feels like you're losing everything: friends, routine, references. But over time, you understand. It's not loneliness. It's space. A space that life is opening within you so that something new can be born. Something of yours. Something true. It is in this silence that you begin to hear yourself. For the first time, without the noise of expectations, without the echo of external demands. Just you, with you. At first it's uncomfortable. After all, we are used to running away from ourselves, filling time, distracting ourselves, hiding in tasks, social networks, superficial relationships. But there, in the encounter with herself, lies her greatest strength. It is at this moment that you begin to discover what you really feel, what you want, what moves you, without needing to please, without trying to fit in, just being. And this authenticity, this silent truth that is being born within you, is what will sustain you when everything around you seems uncertain. Because even if the outside world doesn't understand, you will be at peace with who you are inside. And look what a curious thing. The more you strengthen yourself in this silence, the more you start to enjoy your own company. You are surprised by the woman you are meeting. Discover talents, rescue forgotten dreams, get excited about small daily achievements. It's as if a new version of you is being created during this time of seclusion. Now answer me honestly. Are you afraid of loneliness? Have you ever felt that emptiness that feels like it's going to swallow you when everything around you becomes silent? Comment here. I've felt that, but I'm learning to listen to myself. Your courage can shine light in the heart of someone who is still in the dark, thinking that silence is punishment, when in fact it can be healing. This phase of solitude is also a powerful filter. It removes what is shallow, what is noisy, what is no longer useful, and it brings closer what is real, what has depth, what sustains. New people begin to emerge, but now in a way more aligned with their essence, and you no longer feel a rush to fill in the gaps. You learn that quality is worth more than quantity. The strength that is born during this period is not that brute strength which faces everything harshly. It is a gentle, serene force, a silent confidence of someone who knows they no longer need to prove themselves. You begin to make peace with your history, with your choices, even with your mistakes, because you understand that everything was necessary to bring you here. This peace that you begin to feel is unlike anything you have ever experienced. It's not euphoria. It's not distraction. It's presence. You are there whole, without needing to hide. And that changes everything. You start to treat yourself with more affection, more respect, more care, as someone who finally understood their own worth. And then, when you least expect it, you realize that you are no longer alone. Loneliness became presence, your presence, and that's where you find the foundation to follow. You have become your best company, your greatest ally, and that is one of the most powerful achievements anyone can have. So, if today, you feel like you are going through this moment of silence and separation, Know that this is not an end. It is a new beginning. And maybe the comment you leave below will be the beginning of your reconnection. Tell me, what was the biggest discovery you made about yourself when everything went silent around you? And when you begin to find this strength in silence, in your own company, something inside you awakens more clearly. Being who you really are has a price, and it's not always cheap. It's not just about losing friendships or breaking old patterns. It's about dealing with the discomfort of leaving the illusion that, to be loved, you need to hide. This is the moment when life tests you, because being authentic requires firmness, and firmness requires you to hold your own hand when the world turns its back on you. You discover that you can no longer pretend, that you can no longer smile when you want to cry, that you can no longer accept crumbs when you know the value of the feast you carry inside. And that awareness hurts, but free. You begin to notice that life in its old way was lighter just because you carried the burden for everyone. And now, when you release this weight, the demand comes. You've changed. You're different. You're cold. But the truth is that you didn't become cold. You became lucid. And this lucidity means that you no longer accept being used, diminished, manipulated, or discarded. And then comes the phase of external resistance. People who try to put you in their place as if there was a mold that you should follow. But now you no longer fit into any mold. You overflowed, grew up, and anyone who can't look at you through the eyes of the new reality will prefer to criticize you than adapt to your evolution. Has it ever happened to you that being yourself pushed people away, but at the same time made you breathe easier? If yes, right here. Being myself was expensive, but it was worth every penny. This isn't just an impactful phrase. It's a flag that you raise, and other women are inspired by it to do the same. Who knows, maybe your comment might be the push someone needs to free themselves. When you pay the price of being who you are, you realize that it's not about winning or losing people. It's about preserving your soul. Because at the end of the day, only you know what makes sense to carry. Only you know the pain you faced in silence, the nights you cried alone, the forced smiles to maintain an image. And there comes a time when it gets tiring, and tiredness becomes a limit. Being true to yourself changes the way you position yourself in the world. You begin to say no more firmly, to move away from what hurts, to protect your peace as something sacred. And this attitude begins to cause surprise because before you accepted everything. But now, you understand that your every choice builds or destroys the life you want to live. The price you pay for this transformation may be high, but what you gain is priceless. You start to sleep in peace, wake up in peace, walk in peace, and this tranquility is worthless. It's the silent reward of those who had the courage to lose themselves from the right people to meet the most important person, you. And the most beautiful thing is that when you stand your truth, the universe responds. He does not ignore courage. It sends new connections, opportunities, experiences, everything aligned with this new frequency. But this only happens when you position yourself with truth, even when you tremble, even when it hurts. So, if today you feel like you're paying a price for choosing yourself, remember that you're not paying to be accepted. You are investing in your freedom. And tell me, what was the biggest thing you had to give up to be who you are today? Right below, let's transform this space into a place of healing, courage, and truth. And when you understand that the price paid for being yourself was not an expense but an investment, that's when something almost magical starts to happen. New people start to cross your path, but this time, they are not those who approach for interest, for appearance, for convenience. They are people who recognize you from the soul, who connect with your truth and not with your image. It's amazing how when you change on the inside, what you attract on the outside changes too. Before, you had to work hard to be accepted. Now you just exist, and that's enough to touch hearts that vibrate at the same frequency as yours. You no longer need to beg for attention, nor bend over backwards to keep anyone. You attract, without forcing. These new connections arrive like a balm. They don't ask for explanations. They don't judge your past. They don't demand that you dim your light. On the contrary, they celebrate your courage, admire your transformation, and walk alongside you, not above or behind. These are lighter, more honest, deeper relationships. And the most beautiful thing is that you begin to recognize in these people parts of yourself that were dormant. It's as if the universe was giving you back, in the form of people, what you were rescuing within yourself. Every new friendship, every new meeting, every new exchange has a meaning. Nothing is shallow anymore, everything gains depth. Have you ever felt that after freeing yourself from those who hurt you, better people began to emerge in your life? If so, comment here. After I chose myself, I attracted people who chose me too. This may seem simple, but it can shine a light in the heart of someone who is still in the dark, thinking they will be alone forever. Sometimes, we just need to hear, it will pass, and new people will arrive. These new people also show you that being truly loved doesn't hurt, that being in a relationship, be it friendship, partnership, or love, doesn't need to come with fear, with doubt, with weight. You begin to relearn what care is, what presence is, what reciprocity is, and understand that what you experienced before wasn't love. It was dependence. It was attachment. It was fear of being alone. These connections are like mirrors. They don't complete you, but they remind you of who you already are. They don't save you, but they walk with you. And for once, you don't feel the need to prove anything. Because now, whoever stays, stays because they want to, not because they need something in return. And that is priceless. You also start to notice that you are more selective. And that's not pride, it's self-care. You've cried enough for letting anyone into your life. Now, you respect your space, and you only allow those who add up to you to remain, those who look at you with truth, those who are not frightened by your intensity. This new cycle of people shows that what seemed like a loss was just preparation. You had to empty yourself of the wrong people to make room for those who really belong. And each new presence that arrives on this clean soil finds a firmer, more lucid and more grateful heart. You no longer need to beg for love. Now you reap what you sowed within yourself. So tell me, did someone new come into your life after your transformation and make you feel truly seen? Right here in the comments. Who knows, maybe that person doesn't even know the impact they had, and maybe it's time for you to say thank you. Or maybe this comment is the beginning of another connection that only this video could provide. And as these new people enter your life bringing lightness and truth, you begin to notice something even more incredible. Without realizing it, you are inspiring those who watch you. Your silent transformation, your radiance that doesn't ask for permission, your courage to be who you are. All of this light sparks in hearts that were still dormant. You don't need to talk much. Your life speaks for you. You may not even realize it, but that no, you had the courage to say. That decision you made even though you were afraid. That step you took even though you were unsure. All of this became a living example. Someone somewhere is looking at you and thinking, if she can do it, maybe I can too. And that, David, is very powerful. Sometimes we think we need to make grandiose speeches to change the world, but the real transformation happens in small gestures, in daily choices, in the silent firmness of those who refuse to live a life that is not theirs. When you choose yourself, without shouting, without fighting, just living, you become a silent invitation for others to do the same. And that's when you understand. Being true to yourself is not just an act of personal courage. It's also a gift you offer to the world. Because every time someone sees their strength, they feel like they can also access their own strength. Your journey leaves trails of light wherever it goes, even if you don't realize it. Have you ever felt that after you changed, some people started to treat you differently, with more respect, more admiration, even more care? If you've experienced this, comment here. My transformation has inspired more people than I imagined. Sometimes sharing this can be a boost for those who are still stuck in the fear of changing. Often who you inspire won't tell you. It could be a friend who started to assert herself better, a colleague who found the courage to leave a toxic relationship, a sister who started to take better care of herself. You might not even imagine, but your silent light is opening paths in the lives of people who may not even have the courage to thank you in person. And it makes you realize that true leadership is silent. It's not whoever shouts loudest who guides. It is those who live their own truth firmly, with integrity, with love. You become a natural reference, without needing to carry anyone on your back, without needing to set yourself aside to help others. You inspire simply by being who you are. This awareness also changes your responsibility. You understand that every time you respect yourself, you are teaching without words. And every time he betrays himself, he is also teaching. Therefore, keeping your truth alive is not just an act of self-love. It is also a contribution to a truer, more human, freer world. Over time, this silent inspiration multiplies. You don't need to know how big this goes. You just need to continue being faithful to your journey, because in the end, the transformation you promote in the world is just a reflection of the transformation you accepted to live within you. And if you feel, deep in your heart, that you are already inspiring more people than you imagine, even without having all the answers, even though you are still under construction, know that you are already a light on someone's path. Tell me here, what was the biggest learning that your journey so far has brought you? Let's strengthen this current of inspiration together. And it's precisely at that point, when you realize that you're inspiring other people without even trying, that something inside you changes for good. Life, which previously seemed gray, tasteless, begins to take on new colors. You begin to see beauty in details that previously went unnoticed. The routine no longer seems like a burden, because now there is meaning, there is truth, there is connection with your essence. Simple things like waking up early, drinking a coffee in silence, or even looking at the sky in the afternoon begin to touch your heart in a different way. It's as if the rush and pressure have given way to a conscious calm. You are no longer trying to run to achieve something outside of yourself. It is just present, and that, in itself, is already a victory. The most interesting thing is that you start to recover things you thought you lost. Old dreams come back to the surface. Wills that were dormant begin to pulsate. You remember who you were before you needed to protect yourself, shape yourself, or shut up. And now, with maturity, you give a new meaning to all that. You choose what you want to take and what you can finally leave behind. And best of all, you start to trust life, even when you don't have all the answers yet, even when not everything is resolved, because there is a silent peace that comes from knowing you are on the right path. You no longer need to force it. The right things start to flow. The right people start to arrive. The right doors start to open. Has it ever happened to you that after a difficult moment, everything started to make sense in an unexpected way? If so, comment here. When I allowed myself to change, life changed along with me. Your report could be the confirmation someone needs to not give up. Remember, your story matters, and it can be the breath of hope in someone's day. This new way of living also changes your energy. You walk lighter, smile more truly, give yourself more presence, and people start to notice that. Not quite understanding what has changed, but realizing that there is something different about you. And indeed there is. You came home. He went back inside himself, and it radiates. Even when challenges arise, because yes, they continue to appear, your attitude towards them is different. Now you no longer react with despair, but with wisdom. You breathe, you observe, you choose. You know you no longer need to run over yourself to prove yourself. You know you can trust the process, the time, and especially yourself. You begin to value even more what really matters. The sincere touch, the deep conversation, the attentive look. Simple things gain weight of gold. And at the same time, what previously seemed essential, such as approval, status, control, is losing its luster. You trade quantity for quality, surface by depth, noise for meaning. And it is in this truer rhythm that life responds, not with fireworks, but with small daily miracles, unexpected encounters, clear signs, accurate intuitions. Everything starts to make sense in a subtle but powerful way, as if the universe said, now you are aligned with what has always been yours. And perhaps this is the most beautiful part of all, realizing that you didn't need to conquer the world. You just needed to return to yourself. Tell me here, what was the small change that made the biggest difference in your life? Sometimes it's a detail that changes everything. And when you share, you also help color someone's path. And when life takes on these new colors, when inner peace begins to guide your steps, you understand that choosing yourself is not an isolated event. It's not something you do once, and that's it. If you choose, it's a daily commitment. It's like watering a plant. If you forget for days, it weakens. In the same way, if you stop prioritizing yourself, listening to yourself, caring for yourself, you start to lose yourself again, little by little, without realizing it. The truth is that the world will keep trying to pull you back. There will be voices saying that you have changed too much, that you are being selfish, that you are distant. And that's when you need to remember, choosing yourself every day is the greatest act of love you can practice. Because no one but you knows what you feel, what you carry, what you lived in silence. If you choose to say yes to yourself, even when everything and everyone says no, it's making decisions that sometimes seem strange to others but that make perfect sense to your soul. It's listening to your heart, trusting your intuition, respecting your limits. It's having the courage to protect yourself from what hurts you, even if it means moving away from the person you love. And yes, there will be a day when you will weaken. You'll forget yourself. You will return to old patterns, blame yourself, criticize yourself. But that's when you most need to choose yourself again. Because true love is the one that continues even on difficult days. And this is especially true in the love you offer yourself. Has it ever happened to you that you felt like you were going backwards, but deep down it was just a pause to breathe and come back stronger? If so, comment here. Even though I fall sometimes, I continue to choose myself. This recognition may seem simple, but it is powerful, because it shows that you understand that self-love isn't perfection, it's persistence. You don't have to be strong all the time, nor do you always have to be right. What you need is to keep coming back to yourself. Continue to welcome yourself. Keep remembering how hard you fought to get here. Every step was a victory. Every choice you made, however small, was a cry for freedom. Choosing to also learn to look at yourself with compassion. Look at yourself as you would look at a dear friend and say, I'm here with you, no matter what happens. Because in the end, no one walks with you every day like you walk with yourself. And when this relationship grows stronger, everything around it begins to flourish. You are no longer in survival mode. Now you live, you feel, you choose consciously. You build your own peace, brick by brick. And with each choice you make with love, with truth, with faith, you create a life that has your face, your rhythm, your soul. And perhaps the biggest lesson from all of this is, you no longer need to fight to be who you are. You just need to allow this woman that already exists inside you to express herself, free herself, show herself. And this permission no one else can give you, only you. So if this content spoke to your heart so far, tell me, what was the exact moment you felt like you started to truly choose yourself? Leave it in the comments, because your journey could become the answer someone is looking for. And together, let's continue spreading this movement of courage, light, and truth. If this message touched your heart, don't leave here in silence. Leave a like to let me know that it was worth recording this video, and subscribe to the channel to continue receiving this type of content that strengthens the soul. Up here or on the side, a video is appearing that is the continuation of this conversation. Click on it now, because it could be exactly what you need to hear today. And thank you truly for staying until the end.